It is that time for my response to a tweet. My response to a tweet. And today's tweet says, "Hey Phil, I've been seeing over the past week you've really been stirring up the liberal pot." What's going on with that? Hey Phil, I've been seeing over the past week you've been really stirring up the liberal pot. What's going on with that? Well, I just tell you like this. I'm just seeing more than half of our country is just being under attack by WMCs. And WMC stands for Weapons of Mass Confusion. And the sadder part is that it's not only has them potentially losing their limbs or losing their freedom, but it has them losing their minds. These weapons of mass confusion has these liberals and people that don't understand what liberalism really functions like and what it really is, has them losing their minds. I like to say it like this. It's like an intrusion through confusion, and it has you end up protesting an illusion. Intrusion through confusion has you protesting an illusion. Let me show you the intrusion. You have the liberal government from the highest office of the land, the President of the United States. It has an intrusion going on into every facet of our lives. Through the EPA, through the IRS, through the Justice Department, through just everything. They're making a massive intrusion. And then here comes the confusion. They have, I'll give you an example of confusion. It's like you got three whites trying to be black. Then you got a rich black that's trying to be a struggling African-American poor guy. He's struggling. We're right now considering, we have a socialist drawing the biggest crowds imaginable in our presidential elections. In our primaries. We have a woman that's caught in every kind of lie imaginable, still the front runner. We have just so much confusion going on. And so now let me explain your three whites. You got three whites trying to be black. You got Rachel Dolezal, whatever her name is, Sean King, and Hillary Clinton. You have these people trying to be black. Two of them have infiltrated. One has created a movement that is utterly confused, the Black Lives Matter movement. This is a white guy that made you believe he was black, and he's got a whole bunch of black guys hating white guys. How much more confusion is that? There's a white guy faking like he's a black guy, getting black guys to hate white guys. Then you have a black organization, an NAACP, being run by a white girl trying to fake like she's a black girl. Then you got Hillary Clinton, in any given speech in front of some black people, she'll hit you with trying to sound black. She really been into her husband being the first black president. She thought she was probably the first black first lady. It's just utterly confusing. Then you have a socialist that's got people in America just totally overlooking what socialism has done in every other place that it's at, and he's drawing huge crowds. And the majority of those crowds are our future, our children. And then you have just liberals, period. Pushing these things. You got a rich kid in Missouri. This kid is rich. He's got money. His family is well worth over $20 million. And he's taking the mantle of the black struggle. And they'll perpetuate the lies and all these kind of things, and then people will believe the lies. This man is getting people removed from their jobs over some fictitious, which is the illusion. They're protesting an illusion. I'm telling you, all of our 50 to 70-year-olds, probably our 80 and 90-year-olds, blacks, should go to Missouri and whoop this kid's ass with a real belt and a real switch. Because this is not what you guys protested for. This guy there's not even a dog on campus. I don't even know if they have a pet class. And this man is trying to perpetuate a struggle like the water hoses are sick on him and the dogs are sick. He's on a hunger strike, and this dude can afford to feed probably half of Missouri out of his own family. Protesting for what? If you was to give any credence to any of the things that he's saying is the thing that got his panties in a wad. What? Somebody was riding down the street and they said something that he didn't like? Even if it was racial. Can you imagine what Martin Luther King would be saying right now if he heard this young black man trying to occupy whatever off of that as a standard? Can you imagine any of the people back then? Can you imagine what Rosa Parks would be telling this young boy right now? You're upset because somebody was riding down the street and said something about you? And you're not only willing to put your health and everything in jeopardy for that, but you're willing to mess up everybody's education and this and that and a third because somebody rode down the street and said something? She would pull out a switch. She said, that ain't why I sat down in the front of the bus for your little ignorant, bratty sounding butt to say something like that. Make people lose their jobs? Oh, you thought that, did Rosa Parks call for the firing of the guy who headed the bus system? When she was being really discriminated against? Did Martin Luther King call for the firing of the person who headed the trash collections when when he went down there and protested and marched for the trash collectors? Did he call for the firing of these people? No, because he doesn't see the advantage of making one person poor and lose their livelihoods while he's trying to better somebody else's livelihoods. We can do these things together. We can peacefully coexist. We can have our grievances, and we don't have to call for people's heads to get chopped off, especially when you're just a snotty-nosed rich kid. If it was me, I would tell every single person on that football team, we did not recruit you to protest. That's exactly what I would do. You guys are privileged. And you're sitting here saying you want this man to acknowledge his white privilege. What about your privilege? There's not a bunch of kids that get to go to college free on a scholarship. There's not a bunch of kids that can run fast and jump high and tackle hard, and not a lot of kids that can do those things. You're privileged too. But you want this guy to be fired. You want him to acknowledge some kind of white privilege. Why don't you acknowledge your athletic privilege? Why don't you make the person acknowledge their academic privilege? Why don't you, matter of fact, while you up here getting everybody worked up over their privilege, have you told them how privileged you are? When you made them think that you're going through the struggle? Oh my God, I'm down for the struggle. What struggle? You can call your daddy, say, Daddy, guess what? I can't get what it is that I'm looking for. Somebody called me a name. Can you write a check to the dean of students and have them come and stroke my little backside? That's how privileged you are. But you want to take on the mantle of the struggling black movement that our ancestors got sick with dogs and water hoses where real discrimination was happening, and bring these little itty bitty tedious bratty things to the surface and then get everybody to, man, you are a subject of the weapon of mass confusion, and really all it's showing is how desperate liberals are, how stupid our young black kids are, and how buffoonery and everything and coonery and all this stuff is alive and well in the Democratic Party. And you got rich white people setting these kids up for the slaughter. No, don't know jack about a struggle. Intrusion through confusion. Now you're protesting an illusion, and there's other people out there that's cheering them on. Hey, I'm Phil Williams, and that's my response to a tweet on the Phil Williams Show.